Check 1 2, check 1 2, guys. It was unmuted. All right, I refreshed the audio. Can everybody hear me in the chat? I have to wait a second because of delay, but give me a second, guys. Let me know. Okay, it's working now. I don't know why I had to reset it. I don't know, it was weird. Sorry about that, guys. But as I said,
ladies and gentlemen, we are live. It's time.
That's right. It's time for the Geeks and Noobs podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. But I have a bone to pick with one particular viewer that's in the chat at this moment. Now, I was going to get to the sponsor, but the sponsor is going to have to wait. Because, as many of you know, I typically have a 5-minute intermission before the show starts, playing a wonderful theme song. During that intermission, I get a nice little notification that Dices and Dishes 78 is following the show now for the first time. Excuse me? You're a host on this show, Jason. Why were you not following the channel? What is wrong with you? I'm telling Mom and Dad. You know what? Hold on. You guys take the show. By the way, Kel's here, and we're joined by an incredibly special guest. Ginger Ninja is here. Hang on. Hold on. No, I don't give me that 2 counts shit. I will be right back.
Well, while Vince goes tattles on his brother, Ginger Ninja, welcome to the show. We're happy to have you. I've seen you help Vince with the Wrestling with Toxicity podcast this past week.
I did.
Yeah, great shows. I didn't get to catch them all. I've been super busy, but from what I did get to see, it was really good shows and rundowns of what's going on in the wrestling world.
We try to keep it serious, and he really is crawling right now.
He is. He is going.
No, I'm yelling at Jason. Mom's pissed. You are in for it now, son. Don't think you're too old to get an ass whooping either.
Never too old to get an ass whooping for mama.
Nah, my mom whoop my ass right now. Trust me.
Hell yeah.
And I'd let her in a heartbeat.
All right. So now that we got that out of the way. I got 2 accounts.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. I have 2 accounts, and they both follow the fucking channel. In fact, one of them is subscribed with Prime, which, by the way, if you're watching right now and you have a Prime subscription, use it now and make Jeffrey Bezos pay the $5. Speaking of pay, ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is brought to you by HelloFresh. If you are a person who loves to have home-cooked meals, but you're so incredibly busy, you hate going to the grocery store, you don't have time to prep, you don't have an hour plus to cook with all the cutting and the measuring and all that stuff, HelloFresh is the way to go. You're going to get extremely fresh and very delicious food, already cut, already measured, already portioned. And if you click that little thing, wait, that way. It's that, Kel, it's to your left, technically. Mm-hmm. Yes, that way. Perfect. Right there, you click on that little thing, it'll take you right to HelloFresh. It'll take you there. You get a coupon code for 21 free meals and free shipping. Your first box, if you get the 8-meal pack at just your first box, it's only $36. It's $4.50 a meal, and they're full meals that only take 15 minutes to cook. You get the recipe. You get the recipe. Everything's portioned and cut and ready to go. You just cook it up and go. There's meat and veggies. They have vegetarian. They have keto friendly. They even have pescatarian, which is a vegetarian diet that allows for fish. They have everything you're going to need to even have a kid-friendly version, like a kind of a family-friendly, so you'll have like chicken nuggets sometimes, whatever. Stuff the kids like as well. It's all there, and I promise you it's worth it. Today, I was out of my HelloFresh meals. I got to wait on my next box to come in. I didn't order properly, so I had to go to Winn-Dixie and buy some steaks. I got some New York strips thinking they were going to be good. They were beef jerky. I cooked them perfectly. I am a very well-trained and award-winning chef, and did I mention I'm humble? I know how to cook a steak, and I know to cook a steak. They were all cooked to temperature, right to medium rare. The only way to cook a steak, and if you cook a steak over medium rare, you're a piece of shit.
What if you cook it under?
Rare's okay.
Okay.
But it's got to me, medium rare is optimum. But rare's okay.
True.
I cooked in the medium rare. They were 145 degrees, the whole 9. I know exactly what I'm doing. They were perfectly seasoned, but they were beef jerky. and it's New York Strip. It shouldn't be like that. But unfortunately, going to a grocery store, you're sometimes going to get cheap meats. HelloFresh gives you premium meats, so you can either use code POGHF82941. You know what? I'll put it in chat. It's a hard one to remember. The link is there, but it'll also be there in chat. So just exclamation point HelloFresh. So even if you miss it right now, later on you hit exclamation point HelloFresh, you click that link, you're going to get 21 free meals plus free shipping. It is POGHF29841 as a promo code, but that link will automatically put the promo code in and you're all set. If you get the 16 meal box, by the way, which is what I do, the meals are $3.99 a meal. That is cheaper than any combo meal at McDonald's. And you're going to get fresh, home-cooked meals with fresh vegetables, fresh meats, and it's 15 minutes of prep. You will wait longer in the drive-thru line most of the time than you will for these meals to cook. It takes all the effort out of it, all the stress out of it. It's super good. So go to HelloFresh.com, use our promo code, or just use our link in the thing. Now, Jax, where are you going?
Going to Texas.
Yes, you are, sir, and so am I. Next week, we're going to have a very special episode because I will be doing the podcast from San Antonio, Texas.
Yeah.
So Jax and I are going to San Antonio, Texas for the Royal Rumble, very similar to what I did last year in St. Louis, but this time it's in San Antonio. The entire PWC, our sister channel, will be, well, not the entire one, but a whole lot of us are going to be there. It's going to be a big weekend-long party. It's going to be a lot of fun. But since I'm flying out Thursday morning, I will actually be using John, Mr. Self-Bet himself. I'll be using his studio in his house to do it, so you're going to see a different background. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm sure we'll have a nice, fun appearance from a certain somebody with a red beard.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
And I think what we might talk about next week, unless some news pops up, is maybe talk like wrestling movies.
Okay.
You know, like The Wrestler,
language there.
You know, like The Wrestler with Mickey York, or there's one with Roddy Piper in it, and where he and it was a tag team movie. I have to look it up. We'll look them up. We'll have movies, all that stuff, and also
the first movie that doesn't come to your head when you think wrestling movies is Zombies versus Wrestling.
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. But I also want to talk about it because we actually have another we have two huge wrestling biopics coming.
Oh, yeah, we do.
We have the Hulk Hogan story with Chris Helmsworth, and we have the Von Erich story with Zac Efron, who, by the way, if you've seen the picture of him, is jacked as all hell and looks just like him.
And
MJF
is coming out.
Yeah, MJF is in it, yeah. Matt Ward mentions Ready to Rumble. Great choice, obviously. There are more. There are more that people don't even realize. And we can also talk about certain wrestlers who have transitioned into acting, like John Cena, like Batista, like The Rock, stuff like that. We'll get into that. So that'll be a topic next week unless something comes up. But this week's topic, which has become relevant thanks to the news we got yesterday, but this was sparked by me doing my very common weekly watching of Demolition Man. Every week I watch that movie at least once. A lot of times I fall asleep to it. Iron Claw is going to be amazing. I can't wait to see MJF as Lance Von Erich. I agree. Yeah, so I watch Demolition Man all the time. It's just a fantastic movie. Is it perfect? Not even close. But it's a wonderful, wonderful, fun film. Popcorn film, exactly what the 90s were. It's exactly what we wanted. But then recently, as of yesterday, I believe it was, the news broke that Channing Tatum is in the process of producing and starring in a reboot for the movie Ghost.
Now, going to be pissed.
Yeah, a lot of people are. Here's the thing. I believe there are some movies that cannot be touched. They are perfect as they are. Goonies, you cannot remake. Galaxy Quest is to me legitimately a perfect film. It is legitimately perfect. And if you've got a chance, there's a documentary about the film that came out a couple years ago, 2019 to be exact. Please watch that documentary. I think it's on Amazon. And then I don't know why the name suddenly escapes me. It's based on, what did he used to say? The quote that Tim Allen's captain.
Never give up, never surrender.
Yes, it's called Never Give Up, Never Surrender. Thank you.
Welcome.
So again, I think Galaxy Quest. I think Die Hard. You cannot remake, especially considering the health situation going on with Bruce Willis right now.
Mm-hmm.
But Die Hard's a movie. There's nobody who can step in and be John McClane. You just can't do it.
Then I also
So-
don't think you can do it just because the acts of terrorism in it and stuff like that. Because audiences today, words.
Yeah.
Words are
Still wait.
hard.
Any
I'm
Mel
s-
Brooks movie.
Yes, you.
Matt Ward brings up Spaceballs, but
What
you
you
absolutely
hear?
could.
Did you hear that? We're finally getting History of the World Part 2.
Yeah, in a 6-part series. I'm super
Yes.
excited.
Cool.
But you couldn't do Blazing Saddles now,
Hell to the no.
even with that movie being so
You
tongue in
get
cheek.
Fucking canceled.
Hey, where are the
In a
white women
heartbeat,
at?
As soon as you announce you're doing it, done.
Yeah,
Excuse me while I whip this out.
yeah. I have. Yeah, you couldn't do. Young Frankenstein is the greatest comedic movie of all time, ranked by AFI, not just my own opinion.
Yeah.
It is the #1 comedic movie of all time. You couldn't redo that. There's been a musical of it. You couldn't redo it. Producers. Technically, it's already been redone
Mm-hmm.
because Gene Wilder did it. Then there was a musical. Then they redid it with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Lane. And it's the only way to redo that movie. So they actually did redo that one, but you can't redo it again. So there is a list of movies that cannot be redone. But today we're going to discuss movies that can be redone. That you could possibly pay homage to the classic and boom, have another classic for a modern generation. And so my first pick is, of course, Demolition Man. Now,
You told me about it yesterday. I cannot wait to hear your fan casting.
Yeah.
And all what you have planned for this.
so
Vince.
So originally watching it, my first thought was John Cena as John Spartan and Jonathan Majors as Simon Phoenix. Now, let me preface this. I think Jonathan Majors, from here until the end of time, should be in every movie that's ever made ever. I think Jonathan Majors is amazing and a wonderful actor and has such range that it's insane. And also, if you've seen a new Creed 3 trailer, he's jacked as shit.
Ooh,
He's a
man.
big dude. But the more I thought about the movie, I thought, you know who I really want as Simon Phoenix? I want Simu Liu, the man who played Shang-Chi. I want him as Simon Phoenix, the crazy, wily Simon Phoenix. Because Jonathan Majors, I think, is big enough that you would look at him and go, yeah, that's a fight you can have. The whole point in Demolition Man was that before he was frozen in the cryo freeze, Simon Phoenix was not that much of a threat physically to Sylvester Stallone's John Spartan. So, I think you get Simu Liu as Simon Phoenix. You get Anthony Mackie as John Spartan. You bring Sylvester Stallone in as that rookie pilot turned veteran cop who's the only one who remembers John Spartan from back in the day. You do modernize the film. You maybe don't take it fully to like current 2023. I think maybe like 2001 to 2005 era before smartphones became a thing. I think avoiding smartphones before John Spartan gets frozen. But then you take it to a point where it's like 50 or 60 years later. You can still have a cop because as the world changes, medicine changes, people can live longer, people can work longer. So you have a way around that as well. I think that would be a great way to do it. And you can modernize the story. You can use some of what we now know about technology to prophesize the future technology, which is what it did in that film.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not so much the franchise wars thing with the Taco Bell and the Burger King, because anybody knows internationally Burger King was the restaurant of the future, and domestically it was Taco Bell was the restaurant of the future. They won the franchise wars. I mean, you could, if you want them to pay for the film, you can do that. That's what they did for that movie. So it's still an option.
Yeah.
But I think that would be a really cool film to see redone and just let Anthony Mackie and Simu Liu go out and have fun with it.
Yeah, I would be excited to see that. I mean, it just sounds really great to get those two actors who are very physical and have great acting chops. It would be a fun time.
I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah, see, the reason I do this too is because I tend to start writing scripts for movie remakes. I actually have, so one of my other movies is Highlander, and that one's kind of cheating because that one technically has a reboot in process, but it keeps getting lost in the shuffle. It's in film Hollywood limbo right now. but I wrote a script for a Highlander reboot years ago, and I do that a lot. Matt Ward actually brings up a film that would actually be really cool to see. Says, I would love to see John Cena and Anthony Mackie in a remake of The Last Boy Scout. That would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Although I think that maybe John Cena is not 100% the best for that because he is such a large guy. And I think part of what made Bruce Willis so great as that roughneck detective in the Die Hard films and in Last Boy Scout and other stuff he's done is he's not a large man. He was just an average dude. So maybe somebody else instead of John Cena in that role. Anthony Mackie fits the athlete role perfectly. He's done it. He did it in my favorite Christmas movie of all time, The Night Before. He plays an NFL player in that. Which anybody who hasn't seen The Night Before, go watch it. Even if it's not Christmas, go watch it. It's so good. It's so good. Who else could be a good, like, kind of like everyman detective, gruff but okay? I don't know why Paul Rudd came to mind. I mean, he could do it, but
Who was the guy that played Bane and Batman?
Tom Hardy, great choice. Tom Hardy is a great choice because he's actually not a big dude. He's 5'7", 5'8". He's
But
not a tall man.
But the way he carries himself
Yeah.
in these roles
absolutely.
make him so intimidating.
And he doesn't have to get overly jacked like he did for Bane or the movie The Fighter. Or was it Warrior? No, Fighter was the one he was in. Warrior is the one with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale. Yes, okay. I always get the names of those two mixed up. But yeah, so he wouldn't have to worry about bulking up. He could just stay his normal size, which, by the way, if anybody got a chance to see it, if you haven't seen it, go on YouTube and look up Tom Hardy Jiu-Jitsu Championship. He just walked into a championship. Granted, the man applied, but he was in between films, booked a tournament, and won the tournament.
Wow.
Yeah. He went and won a jiu-jitsu, world jiu-jitsu tournament. Just because he's awesome. So yeah, he could do it for sure. Tom Hardy's a great choice for that role. And that's another movie, it wouldn't take a lot to quote-unquote modernize. It wouldn't take a lot with that. Last Boy Scout, that one kind of is timeless in a sense that, like, it doesn't denote the time it's in except for, like, the accessories they have. So, like, the car phone, which is the size of a brick, you then just make it a cell phone. You know, that kind of stuff. You modernize the cars and everything, but the rest of that story fits in perfectly at any point.
Yeah.
So, what was also great about The Last Boy Scout is, and I cannot remember, I'm going to look up the cast, because the guy who played the villain in that movie was a comedic actor never known for playing that kind of role. So let me see here. Dun, 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 dun. Taylor Negron, he played Milo. Now, what you mostly know him from, let me pull up his IMDb. You know, he's did all these movies like Nothing But Trouble, which was Chevy Chase and John Andy and Dan Aykroyd, or John Candy. He did a bunch of comedies like that. Where is the rest of, why is his IMDb not pulling up? There we go. Oh, I didn't realize he passed away in 2015. That's sad. Oh. He was great, though. He was so good. So as an actor, he had 134 acting credits. Good Lord.
Man.
I'm going to go back a little bit further in his career here because there's a lot of stuff from like the late 80s, early 90s we remember him from. And I'm going to try to go back and pull it up. He was in Biodome. He played, I think it was like the slacker older brother to one of the girlfriends. Dices and Dishes, we're getting to it. That's why it's on the thumbnail. Don't jump ahead.
Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so he was in Biodome. He was in Freaky Friday, Angels in the Outfield, Dave's World. He did a lot of Seinfeld episodes, Ben Stiller Show, Last Boy Scout, of course. Nothing But Trouble, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was on a couple times.
Yeah, he was a really good character actor.
Yeah, just one of the guys. Yeah, Better Off Dead, Hill Street Blues, Johnny Dangerously, Easy Money, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. The list goes on. So you find somebody kind of that vein who you don't normally see as a sleazy like hitman kind of character, but just a character actor that would work for that. I can't think of one offhand, but there's plenty of people you could get for that for sure.
Yeah. And speaking of, that's another movie that couldn't get remade today. Is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
No way.
No, and you couldn't do it again. Honestly, I don't. I honestly,
That should
even if you could, I don't know if it would work. I think it'd be one of those
No,
movies
it
that just does.
wouldn't.
It wouldn't like. It just wouldn't work.
that should
Yeah.
fall under the category of um never remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those untouchables.
Yes.
So before I get to my second choice, Kel, let's get one of yours.
All right. My first choice, I've been saying this for a long time. I've wanted to see a remake of this movie. It didn't really hit that big when it came out in the 80s. And I always loved this film when I was younger. And it just, I finally got to watch it.
I am listening.
again.
My fan turned off, but I am listening.
Okay. But yeah, the first on my list is The Flight of the Navigator. If you don't know this film, it's a Disney property. They didn't license it through Disney when it first came out, which is probably one of the reasons why it didn't do so well at the box office when it came out. But it was a staple on the Disney Channel back in the mid to late 90s or even early 90s, to be honest. But I always loved that film. We had the great Paul Rubens as the voice of the computer on the ship.
And he used a pseudonym.
Yeah, he did.
He took that movie. He was Pee Wee Herman, and they wanted him, but they didn't want to. He didn't want to associate it with his career. Or he didn't want them using his name as the poster name. So he only agreed to do it under a pseudonym because he knew he wasn't the main character.
Yeah.
And so he did it under a pseudonym, but it is, in fact, Pee Wee Herman, a.k.a. Paul Rubens, as the voice of the ship.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, going back through it, I've really been wanting a reboot of this film just to kind of, bring it up a little bit. But my first thought to who would play the David Freeman, who was the kid who the movie was about. And for a little backstory for anybody who doesn't know, David, him and his family is growing up in Florida, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, David goes out exploring at night in the backwoods, and he falls into a gully. And when he wakes up, his family's not at home. There's another family living there. And when he goes to the police station, he tells them his name. And then his parents finally come and get him, but they are 8 years older. His little brother is now about 16 when he was about 5, or whatever the math is, whatever.
8.
But his younger brother is now older. And so they take him to a scientific lab near NASA to try to study and figure out what's going on. Because while everybody else has aged, he has not.
Yeah, he's still the same age.
Yeah. So everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. And about that time, the government has also discovered an alien spacecraft, which they also take to the same place that David is. So one day, David starts hearing something called to him. He goes out and he finds the ship and he takes it with the help of Max, the computer on the ship. And they go out, they have a couple of adventures and everything. It's a great movie for kids.
It's great now. I love that movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's so much fun.
But yeah, so my first pick for to cast as the new David Freeman is Mason Thomas. I sorry for my pronunciation, but he's the kid that played in Black Phone with
okay, with Ethan Hawke.
Yes.
Okay.
So
That's a good choice.
I think he could really pull it off.
That's a good choice.
And then if you're going to have a voice for a ship, why not be a voice that everybody can recognize, and he can play super serious, but he can also cut loose and just have fun with it if you let him have the reins. And I pick Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds would be a great choice. I mean, you could also just bring back Paul Rubin to do it too. Like, that would be an interesting take as well. But I think that Ryan Reynolds, if you want to recast it and maybe put a name on it, because you're trying to like push the movie, Ryan Reynolds is a fantastic choice.
Yeah.
that movie's also incredibly easy to redo because it doesn't take a lot of modernization to it.
Exactly.
You just add some smartphones and some new tech in NASA. Otherwise, the story in and of itself is again one of those kind of timeless stories. So that works. I like that a lot. It's a very good choice, and I think that's a movie that's one of those. If you did it like every 30 years, you kind of remade it every 30 years or so.
Yeah.
Every generation gets their own Flight of the Navigator. I think that could work. So Jason asked, could you redo Breakfast Club? I don't think you have to. And here, let me explain why. Because every generation has their version of the Breakfast Club. They have their teen angst film of some kind. Yeah. And so I don't think it's a necessary remake. And by naming something to Breakfast Club, the comparisons to the classic would be hard.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those films that really goes it's a film that gets studied in film school. Even though it's not like this great cinematic masterpiece, it's just shot in a library mostly and everything. It's still the script that gets studied and everything. So that would be one that a John Waters film is hard to redo because they're also very dated.
Yes.
But each generation has their version of a Breakfast Club. So I don't think it's necessarily a necessary one to remake. So yeah. Jax, have you thought of any yet? I know
I did.
You've jumped into this kind of last minute, but yeah.
This came off the top of my head, and this might shock everyone. But I also have a movie that I watch, not once a week, but I frequently watch. And it is Last Action Hero.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
So good.
The only person I could see playing Jack is John Cena.
Agreed. 1,000%. That's the first thing that came to mind.
He could have fun with that role. And I don't really know who you could get to be the kid. I mean, you could use Kevin Hart. He's small enough.
But if you get Kevin Hart, you have to get The Rock. And so then it becomes a Rock Kevin Hart movie.
Yeah.
But with John Cena, you can get any kid, even if you want to cast somebody new, maybe.
Yeah, if you can find someone new who... But I could just see Cena going through the thing and posters of him is someone else. Like they did throughout the whole movie. And it wouldn't take a lot to modernize that one either.
No, it wouldn't. That would actually be pretty easy. And actually you can keep his movie kind of in the 90s so that when he comes to the real world, he gets hit not only with the real world feel, but then the future real world feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be an extra dynamic.
Yeah, that would be a really good twist.
And I think that you keep Ian McKellen as Death. Because Ian McKellen was Death in that film.
Yes.
The one, the Grim Reaper who comes out of the screen. Now, as far as the villain goes.
He played in The Menu.
Oh, Ralph Fiennes?
Yes.
Oh, Ralph Fiennes would be a pretty damn good glass-eyed hitman.
Yes, I can see Ralph Fiennes doing that and playing it perfectly.
And what's his is it Giamatti the guy everybody's casting right now is Professor X for the MCU.
Oh,
what's his name?
I don't know because you asked.
Exactly.
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Do you not see my trophy? I have a major award, sir.
Let's see. You could have let's see if I can find him. As soon as I can find his dang it. Why can I not find his name? He was also the villain in Giancarlo Esposito. Ugh.
That's it. Yes.
Have him play the mob boss, the dumb mob boss who doesn't understand idioms and stuff. Because to see him, because you definitely believe him as a mob boss, but then to see him be the kind of bumbling mob boss from the movie would be hilarious. And I think he could do it. So I think that's a great choice. Yeah, John Cena for sure.
And then you could bring Arnold back as the captain.
Yeah.
Where he's just cussing and throwing shit at people.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, that movie. So the guy who plays the captain in that film, the black gentleman, and I forgot his name, he was in the movie Batteries Not Included, which is another one of those films you cannot touch. That cannot be remade. I know they've tried to remake it, and it keeps getting into limbo as well. Batteries Not Included is a film I don't think you can touch. I think the cast was too perfect.
It really was.
MCRAE. Frank
MC
McCrane or Great. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. His first name's Frank though.
Yeah, he was awesome in that. He only spoke like 2 lines in the whole movie. He was the quiet, like gentle giant guy in the building in Batteries Not Included. You can't remake that movie, I don't think. Matt Ward asked, what about Little Big League? That would be interesting to see how this generation would react to it. Yeah, that would be interesting. I'm not sure how you do that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how you pull that one off.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it could be done, but again, that kind of movie kind of feels like every generation gets a dozen Little League style, the small guy triumphs movies, like some like Little Giants or Angels in the Outfield or
Hardball,
or what's the one with where the kid
Sandlot.
is the
Rookie
kid
of
is
the
the
Year.
pitcher, Rookie of the Year. Thank you. Yeah. But like every generation gets those. Like there's out there, like there was the one where Air Mike or Like Mike, where little
Like
Bow
Mike.
Wow found Michael Jordan's shoes. There's all those. We got a new Space Jam, which probably shouldn't have happened.
Oh, sorry.
You're good.
Something stuck in my throat. It sucked.
Yeah, it was
Garbage.
terrible.
Yeah,
did I cough at the wrong time?
Yeah.
Really problem.
So I
I
think
think I
that
coughed at the wrong time.
yeah. No, that movie. Yeah. So I think the generational films like Breakfast Club, like Little Big League, like Sandlot, like those kind of films, they kind of like every generation gets their film like that. But my next pick, to me, is something that everybody should watch. Like it should come in the mail with samples of Tide. Like everybody should have it. If you really look at the story and the script, it makes no fucking sense. Like I watched it again last night just for funsies because it's another movie that I watch all the time. It doesn't make any sense. Like the story jumps so much all over the place that it feels like had there been a director's cut, it might have actually made more sense and the studio just came in and cut it down. But regardless, it's still a phenomenal film. Big Trouble in Little China. I have a slightly controversial pick for who plays Jack, Kurt Russell's character. His son in the MCU, Chris Pratt. Think
Okay.
the first Jurassic World film. Now add a little bit more swagger to it. It's Jack.
Yeah.
And you could also maybe do the Escape from New
I
York
see
and
it, I
Escape
see
from
it.
LA films with Chris Pratt if you want to kind of do a series like that. I think Chris Pratt works for that. This was actually the first movie I was going to cast Simu Liu in as his friend in that film. And again, you can still do that. Like Simu Liu is somebody else who should be getting work all the time. He's so good.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I would probably put him in that. You bring back, oh God, why does everybody's name, as soon as we try to do this, I'm not going to write anything down. I know all these people. Jesus.
Yeah. That's why I wrote mine down, Vince.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shut up. James
Mine's coming
James
off the top of my head.
So James Wong. He played, Lo Pan, the main villain in the film. We all know him as he's in Kung Pao, or not Kung Pao. He's in Kung Fu Panda as the dad who runs the noodle shop. He's in everything and everything all at once. Like you can bring him back as David Lopan because that was part of what made David Lopan. He was an old guy, but there's so much you could do with it.
Yeah.
I think if you that script has to be worked out somewhat though, because I don't think today's audience would forgive a new movie for being that kind of disjointed with its story.
Yeah.
So you do have to work out the kinks of the story, but I think there are enough great writers out there that could do it. And I think you get Chad Stilinski, who did the John Wick movies, to direct it.
Yeah. That would be really good to see.
And actually, a lot of the films that I'm going to pick, you have him directed, including the Highlander reboot, which he's actually the one attached to direct. He's attached to it. But I think he could do Demolition Man or somebody of that nature as a director. Could do Demolition Man, Big Trouble in Little China. I have others. Matt Ward says this generation needs a Remember the Titans movie. I'm sure they're going to get one. If I think we're right. We're right in that market for another one like that. We're right in that time frame. It's right about. It's usually like every 10 years we get some kind of like massive film like that. So I'm sure something's coming if it hasn't already come and we're just not even thinking of it. I forgot what I was going to say. So we'll stop there. Yeah. So Big Trouble in Little China. I think you get Chris Pratt to play Jack. Who plays the woman lawyer who he falls for? I mean, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
Karen Gillan would be great.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Karen Gillan would be great. I realize that as I'm doing this, I'm pulling a lot of people from the MCU. But first of all, the MCU is fucking massive, and second, that's all your top stars right now. So like, do you see? You know, it's just like,
yeah.
But
she can handle herself.
I think Karen Gillan would be great as that lawyer role.
If anybody hasn't seen Gunpowder Milkshake on Netflix, go check that out. That is a fantastic movie, and the cast is baller. I mean, you have some of the top female stars of this generation in that film.
Yeah. Also, Karen Gillan is on TikTok, and she's trying to get herself verified by TikTok, but it is legit her.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
So go follow her there. All right, Kel, what's your next movie?
Okay, my next pick. I also went to another A's sleeper hit that came a cult classic. And, you know, a good while back we reviewed or we talked about the Weird Al Yankovic story. So why not have a remake of UHF? Just so we can get Daniel Radcliffe back as Weird Al.
I'm 1,000% for it. I'm 1,000% for it.
Yes, I mean, I so want to see more of Radcliffe as not Weird Al, but a character that Weird Al played before. I just think it'll be fantastic. It'll be a great watch, and just to honor the first UHF, you cast Weird Al Yankovic himself as the evil TV executive that's trying to shut the station down.
Yep, I'm all for that too.
And here's a little bit of an oddball for Weird Al's best friend in the movie. His name was Bob. That's the only thing he's listed as is Bob. I went a completely different route because I just think the banter back and forth between Radcliffe and this person would be hilarious, and it would add more character to the Bob character. And I want to cast comedian Brad Williams.
Okay, that's a good choice.
I just think that would just be comedy gold. I don't know why, but I want to see it happen.
I like that choice.
And then, you know, you could, and then the other top name in the film was Stanley Spitowski, who was Kramer from Seinfeld. I forget his name.
Michael
Richardson.
Yeah.
Or Richards.
Yeah.
Michael Richards, yes. For him, I just pulled, and it took me a while to figure this one out, but I just decided get the guy who played Pee Wee Herman in Weird. I can't remember his name.
From Lonely Island.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got a weird name. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
But
which actually, Future just brought up. UHF seems like a movie Andy Samberg would have done. He was surprised it hasn't been remade yet. You could get Andy Samberg to do it, do that role, the Spikowski role. I think Andy Samberg would also work. I like that.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Choice. So yeah,
and I think you can also modernize it to a streaming thing.
Yes, exactly.
So like a Twitch
episodically.
Yeah, you can make it an episodic show. You can make it about streaming on Twitch versus, or YouTube, or you could, because UHF, people like, I know we're saying UHF, and there's so many young people who have no idea what the hell those letters mean. It's basically public access. And I know that I say those words, people are like, "What's public access?" Yeah. So like, I know TV's dying.
No,
yeah, TV's dying, but there's a way to modernize that story and still make it the same story, and you make it just campy and irreverent and but with modern technology. That's all. So yeah, that would be great, actually.
Yes.
And actually, just have the Lonely Island guys write it with Weird Al.
There you go.
And UHF could be the new streaming service name. It's trying to take down Twitch, or you make something that looks like Twitch, but you call it something else so that you're not getting in trouble. But considering that you can get Amazon to back the movie and put it on Amazon Prime streaming, maybe Amazon would be okay with taking a little punch in the gut by doing it with Twitch.
Yeah.
But see, okay, so UHF, great reboot. Matt brings up a movie of a similar premise that cannot be remade, and I agree with this wholeheartedly. Wayne's World.
Oh yeah.
You cannot remake Wayne's World. It just cannot be done.
And the person who remakes Wayne's World, I promise you, I will send them to Dick Kick City.
Yes. They're going to Dick Kick City for sure. Do you have another film in mind, Jax, or do you want me to go?
No, you go ahead. My last action hero one is the only one I can actually think of right now.
Okay.
So, I've mentioned it a couple times. I've talked about Highlander. First off, arguably the greatest soundtrack of all time on the first Highlander film, because it's just Queen's "It's a Kind of Magic" album.
Mm-hmm.
They made the song. They made the entire album for the movie, and then released it as an album. They learned from the mistakes of Flash Gordon.
Yep.
And took full control. First off, Flash Gordon, great soundtrack because it's Queen.
Yes.
I have his autograph right here.
Do you really? Nice. But I think if you reboot, and this is something I don't think they're doing, if you reboot Highlander, you have to keep the soundtrack.
That's awesome.
Oh, right on. That is pretty awesome. That is so cool. But I think that if you do the reboot of Highlander, you have to keep the soundtrack. You have to keep it. It's a Kind of Magic. You know, you get Brian May involved, and he can do the orchestra stuff behind everything else. But then so right now it's in limbo. But Chad Stahelski, who directed the John Wick films, is tagged to direct that film. And originally Ryan Reynolds was tagged to play Connor McLeod. He has since left the project, and currently Henry Cavill is loosely attached to the role.
Ooh.
So Henry Cavill. So this one I'm kind of cheating, so I'll do a second one right after this. Because this one is kind of already in reboot process. I would stick with Henry Cavill as Connor McLeod. I think that's an awesome choice. Who do you think replaces Sean Connery as the Spaniard with a Scottish accent? Which makes no fucking sense.
Oh, also remember, he was Egyptian in the movie too.
Yeah, he was also Egyptian.
Yeah.
I think you go Liam Neeson.
Oh God, yes.
He would probably be your best pick. Yes.
Yeah.
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Okay. So Nelson brings up in chat, he said that the Flash Gordon Highlander would be dope. Don't know if the movie has been mentioned yet, but I would love a remake of The Burbs, but with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn.
Oh, that would be good.
Ooh.
I would pay to see that. Yes.
First off, if you've not seen The Burbs, go watch it because it's phenomenal. It's a fantastic Tom Hanks movie that gets no love for some reason. Great movie.
Yeah.
You redo it though with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn, that works. And of course, Jon Favreau directs it.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down. He directs it and he stars in it. Yes. 1,000% The Burbs with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn is perfect.
Yeah, Jon Favreau plays the annoying neighbor that gets Tom Hanks into all the shenanigans that ensue. Yeah. Yes.
So Jason asks, Labyrinth would be good to remake. I don't think you remake Labyrinth.
See, I said the same thing to my soon-to-be son-in-law. Because they reboot Labyrinth. I'm like, no.
I don't think that one works for a reboot.
No.
I think David Bowie nailed it. I think Jennifer Connelly nailed it. I'm not sure that one is one you could. I mean, maybe it's a possibility. I just don't know who you get in the role.
Yeah.
No, I feel like if you went to remake that one, we'd have another Willow on our hands with Disney Plus.
Maybe, although the Willow series isn't bad, but it's not anywhere near what the movie Willow was.
Exactly.
So, and that's you're right. So I think you'd have to do it as an episodic thing on Disney Plus, maybe with Labyrinth, And you're right. Although it could be good, it's not going to be the same, and it's not going to hit well.
Yeah.
Willow's a straight up classic. You know, a movie, and this is not one on my list, but it just popped in my head. It's an obscure movie. It's actually Liam Neeson's first film, I believe. And this is why it popped in my head because I mentioned him. Kroll.
Oh, yeah.
So
God.
Kroll is best known because of the weapon it had.
Mm-hmm.
The guy had this spinning blade that would return to him. And it had a Cyclops in it and it had unicorn and other stuff.
It was a typical 80s fantasy movie.
Yeah, very typical 80s fantasy movie. Most of the cast was unknown. Like I said, Liam Neeson's probably the biggest star in the film, and yet I believe it was his first film. So
I
like
believe you're right.
His first major film. First like major film, not like Hollywood film. That one could be fun to remake, and you could do it with a cast of nobodies. Like, I wouldn't even cast stars in that one. I would try to find up and come. Just do your due diligence in your casting. Maybe talk to Kevin Feige, because he seems to nail casting pretty fucking well. Mm-hmm. Talk to his casting agent, which is not Victoria Alonso. Who's their casting agent for Marvel? Regardless, you talk to them. But the one I had chosen to kind of replace Highlander, because like I said, that one's already kind of in reboot. It's another Sylvester Stallone classic from the 90s. It's also another Kurt Russell classic from the 90s. Tango and Cash.
Oh, okay, hold on. I want to see who you pick, though.
Now, in Tango and Cash, this is originally where Anthony Mackie came in, because I had John Cena and Anthony Mackie. But you have John Cena play the Sylvester Stallone tight-knit stockbroker detective, and Anthony Mackie playing the kind of grimy detective.
Yes.
I think the two of them would play well off each other. But you could also flip that. That's what's great about them. You could actually flip that and have it the other way around, and it still works.
I don't know if I would flip it, though, because that seems like it would be too much like Lethal Weapon in a way, if you flip those characters. I like the first way you put it.
Always go with your first instinct there.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I would cast it for sure. But if during filming you were filming it and realized, because that happens from time.
True.
Because, but...
Yeah, just act Back to the Future.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the Future shot 3/4 of its film with Eric Stoltz and realized, this sucks.
Yeah.
And they recast it with Michael J. Fox, and the rest is history. There's another film you can't remake. That trilogy cannot be remade.
You can't remake it, but I believe you could add on.
Oh, for sure.
You couldn't ever remake them, but you could. That is a trilogy that if you wanted to add on like one more, like for Michael before he's completely not able to make appearances.
I disagree, guys. I'm gonna have to go against the flock here. I don't think you could add on to it, because I think we would just have another sequel trilogy like in Star Wars. People just won't accept it.
That's true. That is actually true. It probably wouldn't get accepted no matter how good it is.
If you look at it through those lights, you're totally correct. It wouldn't be accepted at all whatsoever.
So actually, I agree with both of you. I think it could be done, but I think that the fan revolt alone might be enough to not make it worth doing.
Mm-hmm.
The backlash. You'd have to have the perfect cast and everything, and still you'd hit a bunch of backlash for
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The reason I'm glad I mentioned it though is because there was not even 6 months ago a kind of mini fan swell for a remake after Tom Holland and Robert Downey Jr.'s faces were deep faked into clips from the movie. As great as those two would be, I don't think it works.
No,
sir.
That's a good question. Would a remake of Conan the Barbarian work?
Well, they did one.
Oh wait, they did one, didn't they? With Jason Momoa.
Yeah,
that was terrible.
Yeah.
That's why
I said awful. So no, it doesn't work. What if Tango and Cash, instead of them being two male leads, you do it with two female leads? I think then you get the movie Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy, which, by the way, fantastic film. It's so funny.
It is.
So I think we already got it. I think we got the female version of Tango and Cash with that film.
Me personally, I think that was one of Melissa McCartney's best films that she's done.
Yeah. Back to the Future would be really hard because of Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd's physical limitations. Yeah, Christopher Lloyd's getting up there in age too.
Yes.
But you could maybe do something like a kind of workaround is maybe doing a series on a streaming service, like a 6-episode or 8-episode with the kids.
Yes.
Because at the end of the third film, there was the kids that were going to grow up. You could have Christopher Lloyd appear in it as still working on things. As adults, the kids either steal it or they work with him and accidentally get sent, and they have a little bit of an adventure. So more like not a sequel, but more of a kind of just a tie-in adjacent story you could do. That might be the best workaround.
Yeah,
I could see it being like because, and I might get heat for this one. I like the new Jumanji movies. I
Love
think
them.
they expanded
Love them.
perfectly.
yeah, they're actually really good.
And that's why when I see those, I think that maybe Back in the Future with that whole kid idea could be something cool to try.
I think the only difference here is that because Jumanji was only one film and you had lots of room to go further,
Yes.
Back to the Future is kind of a complete trilogy. So I think some people might think that door is closed when it comes to the fandom. Even though they did sort of technically kind of leave it open with the new train and them gallivanting through time. And that's why I say you make a kind of adjacent story about it. But yeah, it has to be. I don't think a direct sequel, more of a adjacent story with the professor's kid or with Doc's kids, grown up. Jules and Vern grown up. Because we also got we technically did get a sequel spinoff with the animated series, the Back to the Future animated series, which did deal with the kids, as kids. But now you deal with them as an adult. You could do like a 6-part or 8-part miniseries on any streaming service. Like it'd probably be on NBC Universal. It'd be Peacock. Because they own the rights to it. So it would be on Peacock, which that bothers me a little bit because I don't think Peacock does the best job with a lot of things. Although Night Court, by the way, the new Night Court, speaking of reboots, it's phenomenal.
I'm going to check that
it's
out
so
tonight.
good. It's so good. It's
Oh,
so good.
yes.
Oh, they do it so much justice. They don't butcher anything. It is so
Speaking
good.
of Speaking of remakes, I'm going to start tomorrow that 90s show.
Oh yeah,
You'll have to let me know. I'm very scared because that 80s show was god awful.
terrible.
Yeah, but
So I'm worried, but I trust you, so you let me know. And as long as they don't turn it. Well, here's the thing about Rick and Morty. That show's probably dead.
that show is about Back to the Future.
Yeah, it is Back to the Future, but X-rated Back to the Future. But considering that the lead voice actor and creator of the show is about to go to jail for pedophilia and grooming and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, he done.
shit.
That show done. The new Quantum Leap. You know what? The new Quantum Leap was okay, but it didn't have the same magic as the original Quantum Leap.
Yeah,
And so I stopped watching it. It just didn't feel the same. It just felt like, I don't know. It's hard to. That was such. There's weird places and weird shows. Like the new Magnum PI is again. It's okay. The new Hawaii Five-0. It's okay, but it is a little difficult to do.
yeah. I mean,
All right. Yeah, go ahead.
I still watch the Quantum Leap all the way through. I think it's decent because I rewatched the first season on Peacock or Amazon, whatever it was I watched it on. I watched the first season, and there's pretty much parallels because there was no overarching story in the first season and everything. So I kind of forgave that aspect of it. Words.
Tell your wife,
But
thank
anyway.
you for liking the stream. How far did you get into it? It didn't hit me till episode 3. I was like episode 4 or 5, and I still wasn't like fully hooked. Like I said, it wasn't bad. Like had I never seen the original Quantum Leap, I probably would have loved the show, and I probably would have been instantly hooked. But it just, it's like I can't bring myself to watch the Winchesters, the prequel series to Supernatural, even though it's getting rave reviews from the Supernatural community. I just don't. It just doesn't feel like it's hard to like kind of do that. But especially now that Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki have teased possibly doing a 16th season because they want to so badly. I'm like, I'll just wait. Like, let me see where that goes.
That's fair.
Yes, they did hook it back to the OG show. I appreciated that. Like, it is not. It's not even a sequel. It's more of a continuation, kind of like a 30 years later, trying to get back into that technology and then that kind of stuff. It's okay. Again, if I hadn't watched the original, if I hadn't been such a fan of the original, it's like do you remember Sequest?
Yes.
That's another one I don't think I want to see a sequel to. I just don't think so. I don't know. So what's your third film, Kel?
My third and final film. This is the ones I got to today because it's really the ones I really thought of. Now this is going to be the longest one I rant about, because there's just so many good characters in this film, so I wanted to mention them all. Plus, I added an extra character, a new character that was actually in the original. That I love this actor. He's been on Supernatural. He's been in Ghostbusters. He's been in so many films. He's just that guy who's like, oh, it's that guy. But the film I'm referring to is a classic Arnold Schwarzenegger film from the 80s, The Running Man. It's probably one of my favorite Arnold films because it's so low key and nobody really talks about it. So I think that's one reason why I like it so much. But I think it could really be done well in today's world. By the way, that movie was set in 2017. So
yeah, you'd have to make it 2117 or something, I think.
Yeah. So, but yeah, my pick for Ben Richards, Arnold's character in the film, I would go Chris Hainsworth.
Okay. I think Chris Hemsworth works.
Yeah, I think he would totally just, get as jacked as Thor, but not as jacked as Hogan as he's going to be in that biopic.
Yeah, I think it would work.
Yeah. And then for his counterpart, Damon Killian, the showrunner and host of the Running Man series that everybody watches in this post-collapse society world that they're living in, I decided to go with someone that can play a likable everybody's man 1 second and then go through the door and be a complete fucking asshole. And that's why I went with Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti's a great choice, but I think I have one that's slightly better.
All right.
Stanley Tucci.
Ooh.
So Stanley Tucci, so he was the host on the Hunger Games, like the flamboyant host on Hunger Games movies.
Yeah,
he was also he was in the Transformers film, a couple of them. He is, Jules and Julia. He's got a long career. I think Stanley Tucci is one of the best actors out there, and I think that he has that ability to transform himself, like if he's in front of the camera, like as a character, to be in front of the camera as a lovable host, and in the back to be a conniving thing. So I think Paul Giamatti is good, but I also think that he has kind of almost been typecast in that role, especially with that movie, that show, not Succession. What's that one? Is it Billionaires?
Yeah,
that's what it's called. That kind of stuff. It's kind of what he's been doing.
I know that may be why I picked them, but yeah, I thought about Tucci when I was coming up with the list, but I'm just not a big fan of his. But I loved Paul Giamatti, so that's why I picked him. And then for the stalkers in the film, I decided you could get like John Cena being one of them. I think he would be a good stalker. And by the way, we're gonna have to change the names of the stalkers. I don't think we could go with Buzzsaw and Sub-Zero because of Mortal Kombat and everything.
Yeah.
So we could bring up new stalker names and abilities and weapons. So that's not a problem. I don't have an issue with that. But also, I would love to see Mark Dacascos be one of the stalkers. And
I love that dude.
Yeah, he was in the third John Wick film,
Brotherhood of the Wolf. If anybody has not seen that movie, it's a French film, but it is so good.
I almost watched it today before the podcast, but I was like, I'm not going to finish it before the podcast starts, so I'm not going to watch it. I'll probably watch it tomorrow. I have loved that movie since it came out. It was so good.
I'm probably going to watch it tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
Matt Ward has a good choice, too, that I didn't even think about. Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Oh.
He would play that affable, lovable host, and then backstage he becomes Negan. Basically, he just basically becomes Negan. That would work.
Yes, absolutely. I love the way you think, man. That is awesome.
John Cena replacing Jesse Ventura with a laughing
See,
face.
I thought about that. That's what I was going for at first. But I think I say, you know what? I got somebody else in mind to play Captain Freedom, who is Jesse Ventura's character. And I for that particular role, I want to go Idris Alba.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
You know what? I kind of want Idris Elba in my Tango and Cash.
Yes.
Now that you've said that, instead of Anthony Mackie, which I mean I love Anthony Mackie, but I think Idris Elba is as that kind of gruff. Oh, that would be good.
That would be really good, man. So yeah, I want him to be the Captain Freedom or whatever they want to rename him for the film. As for Amber Mendez, it took me a while to figure this out, but I think even though she's getting a little older, I think Michelle Rodriguez would really work for that character.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah. And then for the last two characters that I got for them, he would play Ben Richards' escape mates when they escaped the prison first. Londrin and Wise. For Wise, I think Sean Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy would be really good.
Yep.
Playing that smart, savvy tech guy. And then for Landry, I want to go Jamie Foxx because I think he would pull that role off.
I think you're right. Jamie Foxx is great too. I mean, what can that man not? I mean, what can't that man do? Jeez.
And then, real quick, I'm to introduce a new character that did not die in the original film. Maybe get set up where the broadcasting network made it all a hoax, because they could digitally edit people in and out of films and corrupt it. And the way the people were in that film, they're easily gullible. Because they switched on everybody. They flip-flopped the whole movie.
Yeah.
So they could easily brainwash everybody again with propaganda and tape editing. And that's why I would love to see for like the new producer of the Running Man show to be Kirk Fuller, who has been in Supernatural. He was the angel, that asshole angel that got.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I like it.
He also was in Psych as the mortician.
Yes.
Bring him back as
great
a producer.
Great choice. Yeah, he's perfect for that.
Exactly. Yeah, he could be like Killian's boss.
That would work.
I think so too. And then you can also like bring Arnold back as the leader of the Resistance.
Yep.
Because the guy in the original film was older. And he made these references that nobody understood. So I think bring Arnold back as in that role. So you don't have to do anything physical. He can just be there for the cameo, and everybody's happy.
I think those are good choices. Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of like just touching on a subject. I'm sure there are countless movies we could, if we really sat here and thought about it. I'm sure by tomorrow we'll be like we'll send each other messages. Oh, what about this movie and with this people?
Absolutely.
A lot of these films, like I think Running Man is going to require a bit of a script overhaul because you have to modernize the present and then modernize the future. Same with like Demolition Man, although I still think you have to do the 3 seashells in Demolition Man. I think it's very important. And I think maybe as a post-credit scene,
still never explain it.
You still have somebody trying to explain them to him in the post-credit scene. Because every film has to have a post-credit scene now. Yeah, so like some of these would require major overhauls. Some of these would just require tweaks and modernizations. All in all, there's a lot of them out there. So if you have any ideas that we weren't able to get to today, hit us up on TikTok, on Instagram, or wherever. Let us know your thoughts. Like I said, so next week I will be in San Antonio doing the episode from there. Jax will be with me once again, but in person this time. Because why, Jax?
going to Texas.
Yeah, you are. So am
I'll
I.
tell you how excited I am about this
Yeah.
trip. Like I've got my bag like halfway packed.
Yeah. So I went over I'll just talk about it now. I went over Frontier's bag policy, and even now backpacks may not be allowed unless you have to pay the extra carry-on fee. So I'm gonna call them and try to get some like clarification on things, because I'm just like, they're saying that a carry-on that's allowed, like a personal use item, it's 14 inches tall, 18 inches wide, and 8 inches deep. It's kind of like a laptop bag. But at 8 inches deep, I think if we get the right bags, we'll be okay.
I mean, I have a Vans book bag.
That might be small enough, because it does mention a kid's book bag counts as a personal item. So that might be, if it's a standard size backpack, you might be good. My backpack's a little bit bigger because mine is actually a travel backpack. It's meant to be a suitcase, but as a backpack. So mine's a little bit bigger. So I'm probably gonna go buy another bag just to make the right size. Because I was thinking, like, well, if I don't bring any equipment, I can fit everything I need in literally a drawstring bag, one of those drawstring bags. I can fit everything I need in that. But I do need to bring my laptop, which unfortunately, I went and got the 17-inch laptop, so I got a bigger one. I do have to bring my camera, and I do got to bring other equipment. So, yeah, I'll have to figure it out. But yeah, we'll figure it out. We're gonna have a lot of fun. You're gonna see.
Mine just says new checked bag limited to 40 pounds.
Did they buy you a checked bag on your ticket? Did they pay for the checked bag?
I guess so.
That's for checked baggage. That's not even carry-on. Huh. You might want to contact them and see if they did, because we'll get clarification on that. We'll figure it all out. Yeah. ThinkGeek. There's actually a ThinkGeek in Clearwater, but I'm not driving all the way to Clearwater to go to ThinkGeek. Oh, also, just an FYI, because one of the trips we're doing right away in Texas is going to Buc-ee's, which I'm super excited about. And like I said, we're going to document the entire weekend, and there will be a Super Beard Goes video up on the channel. We're going to make one for the PWC channel. You're going to see a lot of this.
Nice.
They're opening up a Buc-ee's in Ocala, Florida.
Yes, they are.
I cannot be more excited.
Yeah, they actually have one up in Crossville, Tennessee, near where I live. I haven't got to check it out yet, but it's on the list.
You should go. But yeah, so next week's episode will be shot from Texas. Kel will still be in his house, but we'll be shooting it from Texas. We're going to talk, unless something comes up big in the news, if something happens. But for now, the topic is the best wrestling movies. Because we're going to Texas for the Royal Rumble, we figured why not bring it all together. Plus, we have our sister station, the PWC, which everybody please stick around. We're going to go raid them real quick. So stick around. But yeah, so think about your best wrestling movies. And if necessary, maybe we can throw in stuff like They Live, the Roddy Piper cult classic, stuff like that. But let's try to stick to wrestling movies if we can. So for Jaxpo,
Hell comes to Frogtown.
yeah. Yeah. So for Jaxpo, Kel, I am Super Beard. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Geeks Noobs podcast. Once again, check out HelloFresh.com and use our link. Go get yourself a box. If we get 12 people to sign up, all that money comes right back into the network, and we're going to make an even better channel for you guys. Let us know what you want to see from us and what's coming up, and we will see you guys next week.